I don't know what the music says about the person speaking, but I would like to echo, first of all, Dr. Grego's comments. Cannot thank him enough for being here and offering the greetings that he did and emphasizing the value of career, technical, and adult education. It's a pleasure to be with you. I cannot thank you enough, and I guess maybe that's the first point I would like to begin on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so extraordinarily humbling for me to be here, to be with you in person, to uplift, to reignite, and to excite us about the academic year ahead of us as we think to engage the many adults across the state of Florida in high school equivalency coursework or adult basic ed, adult general ed, or English second language learning. I cannot thank you enough. You are absolutely, unbelievably heroic, inspiring, and dedicated to a phenomenal cause. That is the cause of uplifting lives, transforming lives. And I guess maybe the second point I want to emphasize, breaking the intergenerational immobility of so many adults, of so many kids, of so many families across the state of Florida. I think many of you heard me talk about intergenerational immobility, and economic mobility is an indicator of success. We have 800,000 children in Florida living in poverty. And it's no coincidence that the majority of those household heads lack a post-secondary credential. About 30% don't have a high school diploma. North of 80% don't have any kind of post-secondary credential. Over the past 2 years, since January 20th of 2020, workers in high and middle wage quintiles increased their earnings or increased employment by 4.2% and 8% respectively. So those that are employed in mid-wage occupations or high-wage occupations increase their earnings potential. Take a guess at the employment rates and the earning wages of those in the low quartiles. Increase or decrease? Decrease. By what percent? 30%. They decrease their employment and overall earnings by 30% in those low quartiles. Those families, those individuals, I'm arguing, and I am pounding the pavement in Tallahassee around and on, are those individuals and those families needing access to adult education, needing access to what Dr. Grego talked about, that is to say integrated education and training, teaching CTE concurrently or contextually with adult ed to give them access to mobility, to give them access to a credential of value that can accelerate not only them, but their children on a pathway to economic prosperity and mobility, knowing the connection between adult literacy and childhood literacy and childhood success. Over the past 50 years, in terms of post-secondary attainment alone, over the past 50 years, the top income earners, the top quartile earners, their post-secondary attainment went from 40% 50 years ago to 65%. So the top income earners, their education attainment went from 40% to 60% over 50 years. The bottom increased only by 7% over 50 years. From 6% of that total population to 13% of that total population. Over 50 years, we have not realized any remarkable gains, I would say, as a society or as a whole in terms of our ability to move the needle on fixing intergenerational poverty and immobility across the state of Florida or the nation. What do we need to do different? That has been my question since day one as Chancellor. What do we need to do different to address these particular people in these particular zip codes, in these particular neighborhoods differently? How do we change the model of education so as to accelerate economic and social mobility for those that need it most? Without imposing, without presupposing any kind of narrative or fixed solution, but while recognizing the value of post-secondary degree attainment. The Southern Education Regional Board also knows that economic mobility, but we recognize still the value of higher education, which is why we're thinking about IET anew. And I totally recognize we kind of have all the answers. I wish we did. And to Dr. Greger's point, the great thing about being together is that we can problem solve together in view of a better Florida, in view of helping to address the issue of intergenerational poverty and mobility across the state. The last thing I've been trying to figure out, not only what can we do differently pedagogically, but also what can we do differently structurally? How do we think about transforming adult ed in a way that integrates career and technical education with our workforce system? And this has been the topic of conversations across Tallahassee these days, the idea of regionalism, the idea of how can we think about more collaborative, deliberate partnerships between the school districts or the colleges and local community-based faith organizations, local nonprofits like the Urban League, like the WISE, like United Way. What can a more formal organizational model look like moving forward? That's conceptually what regionalism means. It doesn't mean closing off access or taking one pot of money, giving it to another, and disenfranchising one person at the expense of another, or robbing Peter to pay Paul, or cutting your nose off to spite your face. It is about more integrated, deliberate, formal arrangement at the local level between all of the entities so that we are leveraging resources well, and leveraging the resources in a way that we can hold ourselves accountable. For which reason, the legislature and the leadership of the governor, as well as Speaker Sprowls and President Simpson, have passed 1507, House Bill 1507, which empowers the new office of the governor to define what these regions are, but also to ensure that this kind of coordination is occurring. This is why we sort of pre-baked or built into our We Owe a Title II grant the assistance that you may need in order to help do this. So as you know, those that are eligible or those that receive We Owe a Title II dollars will now soon benefit also from additional grant opportunities that we've reserved to help you do this work, since we do not want you dipping into your grant dollars to do the regional asset mapping, the comprehensive local needs assessment, the understanding of what other players are out there to address the issues that I'm alluding to. It's an exciting time. It is an absolutely exciting time for adult education and career and technical education, thanks to our governor and thanks to the legislature, who have as the top of their mind the skills gap, the employment gap, and the gap, I think, in economic and social mobility. It is a matter of justice. I would say it is an ethical issue that we are facing head on, understanding that education is a means and a mechanism for transforming lives, and you are at the front lines of it all. It is a wonderful time to be part of the career and technical and adult education system in Florida. And again, I cannot thank you enough for your patience with us as we try to lead, as we try to advocate. And I am so thrilled with the legislation this past year, as well as the money and the resources that we got in order to do it, with the Open Door Grant covering non-Pell eligible students that cannot have the ability to benefit too. We finally got money at the front end to remove all barriers so that they can acquire the kind of credentialing program that they need to accelerate themselves and those around them. I want to take this opportunity to thank the department staff, beginning with Vice Chancellor Goodman, Dr. Ashley Goff, who you'll hear from in a second, as well as Dr. Brittany Ross, who is remarkable in her ability to understand data and build sort of the data infrastructure that you need in order to make this a success. So if it weren't for Brittany and her team and her commitment, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I want to, in a particular way, thank her, as well as the glorious Bradley Brown, who keeps us all in check and out of jail. I cannot thank her enough. I also want to recognize Rachel Ludwig, who is a phenomenal addition to the agency in her direct experience as a practitioner in ESOL and IET,
who has joined us from Wisconsin and has moved here to Tallahassee and has joined the agency as the Director of Provider Performance and Professional Development. So a lot of great things happening. I also want to recognize Sarah Anderson, who is our Outreach and Recruitment Director. It's not been an easy thing to sort of champion adult ed and CTE, as it's sort of not the most, dare I say, sexy thing in the world to talk about with legislatures, with lobbyists, with everyone else who have a lot of priorities, but the rebranding and the re-engagement and the reimagining matters. And I would like to thank Sierra for her leadership as we commemorate today, as a matter of fact, the one-year launch of Get There Florida, which is our statewide campaign to help do this. And we recently built in an adult ed component to the whole campaign that will be rolling out very shortly. I went down the tricky and dangerous route of naming names. So if there was anyone that I left off, please forgive me. Last but certainly not least, Dr. Jeffrey Arnott, who is a personal friend and a great leader. I want to thank him, as well as Melanie Stefanowicz, who is just a wonderful person, a remarkable human being, and a passionate advocate for you and for everything that the state does here in CTE as well as adult ed. Behind the scenes, she has done some marvelous things for the state, and so I wanted to recognize her past presidency too, and thank Julie and June for everything that you've done over the past year and will continue to do together as we transform lives. So thank you, everyone. Hope to see you before the end of the conference, and I know that I'll open it up for questions and answers, I think, on Wednesday for us to have sort of a more informal back and forth. I don't want to miss that opportunity or look like I'm evading questions about what's happening. So thanks all.
Please welcome Dr. Ashley Locke, the Bureau Chief for Adult Education.
It is a pleasure to be here and to meet many of you already this week. I've been on the job for a whole 90 days, and so I've learned so much in that time. It's really difficult, speaking of, following Chancellor Matt. He's a pretty impressive dude, right? So I'm glad he spilled most of the information already. I can tell you, as a former teacher, that there is nothing better than knowing that the folks at the Department of Education and my bosses, Tara, Chancellor Matt, are so competent, brilliant people, but they're also incredibly passionate about what we do. And so I'm really, really blessed and fortunate to be able to work under their leadership. I would really like to talk and maybe introduce some of my staff this morning. Our team, there's several new faces that you might not have recognized in the past, Rachel being one, Jane Greenfield as well. And we're missing one person in particular, Phil Anderson, that I know most of you have had contact with, who is a wonderful resource for our team. If my staff would please stand up. Lisa Williams as well. Please make sure you get to talk to them this week. Talk about your programs, your students, what obstacles you're facing, what challenges you're having. And really, we want, especially this year, in this time of transformation and change, we really want to understand how we can best serve you. So, if I haven't talked to you before, a little bit about my background. I really got my start in career and technical education. I'd like to say career and tech education changed the trajectory of my life. As a high school student in agriculture, an FFA, it really put me on a different track and a different course. And so I know your programs and what you do are just as transformational. I'm lucky for the Pinellas County folks here to be related to an adult educator, an ESOL instructor who just retired and luckily came back. and he's teaching again, and some of his stories and the way that he sees change and transformation of people's lives on a daily basis are absolutely heartwarming. And so I know this new change and this constant, I know everyone's probably tired of hearing IET, and you've been working with our staff over the past few weeks to change some of your IET programs of study, but it really is that combination and that opportunity to really integrate career and technical education into adult education programs that I think will elevate, engage, and really excite people about moving in to credentials and value into post-secondary education and really transforming lives here in the state of Florida. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I'm excited to be here with you this week. Please come talk to me and our staff, our team, about what we can do to better help and serve you. At the end of the day, my job really is to help remove obstacles, to make lives easier. And I don't want you to see us as the folks in Tallahassee that are difficult to call or difficult to contact or reach. We really are here to serve you. So, pleasure to see everyone this morning in person. You're not as pixelated as you are usually as over Zoom. So, it's great to see you, and please have a wonderful week. Thanks again to Julie and her team. This is a fantastic conference.
Please welcome the Executive Director for ASA Florida, Julie Roberts.
Welcome everybody. It is absolutely a pleasure to see your faces. Last year we had a successful virtual conference, but this is what we miss, this being together. And I mean, everybody is just so happy to be here, and we're just so glad that you are here with us. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I do see some new ones. And I wanted to let you know that we have 67 newbies at the conference this year. And if you want to know who they are, they should have a bumblebee on their name badge. So if you have a bumblebee on your name badge, this is your first conference, would you please stand? And for all of us veterans, if you see them out wandering around, please be sure to welcome them and help them out with the conference. But we welcome all of you and so glad to see you. It is my pleasure to get to recognize the vendors and the sponsors that we have this year for our conference. As you know, they are just another level of resources and information for you to learn from and to take back to your students and your programs. And this year is no different. We have a lot of our regulars who come out to support us every year, but we also have 4 new vendors with us this year. So please be sure to go by and introduce yourselves, see what they have to offer. And then we also have our sponsors who help add just a little extra something to the conference. And I'd like to recognize them now. We have our Tuesday night President's Reception and Casino Night again this year, folks. Don't miss it. Yes, I know when I said if I didn't have it, I'd be booed off stage. That is being sponsored by Essential Ed, Stephanie Eichner and Dan Griffith. Stephanie is here. Thank you so very much. We also have, tonight is Monday night trivia and dessert. And this is something new that we're doing this year. We've had people in the past say, we want to do something different, we want to do trivia. Well, this year we're going to bring it to you. So I believe you get out a little early today, go out, have dinner, but then come back for dessert. bring a team, come by yourself and join a team, or be a team all on your own. But come and have dessert, play some trivia. We've got some really fun prizes to give away, so you don't want to miss that. That is being sponsored by Aztec Software with Mike Woodruff, and I don't know if he's in here with us, but please be sure and stop by and thank him for that, and don't miss it. The conference program bags, they are being sponsored by Burlington English, but because of COVID, they were unable to travel and be with us, but I still want to give a shout out to them for their continued support of ACE and adult education, and we thank them for the bags. For the grand opening of exhibits with the wonderful continental breakfast this morning, it was sponsored by DRC with Christine Kirk and Mike Johnson. Christine is stuck in Dallas waiting on a plane to get here, and Mike has been delayed also, but they will be here at the conference. So be on the lookout for them probably at the next break. A new vendor this year is ICEV, and what they are doing is sponsoring a breakout room, and where they will be able to go in, tell a little bit about their session, and they'll introduce each of the speakers in that particular room for the day. That's Sharon Johnson, Caitlin Plant, and Kim Brown. And last but not least, the Self-Directed Search is also sponsoring a breakout room, Matt Parks, and he is also new this year. So please be sure to go by, introduce yourselves, welcome everybody here, say hello to old friends, and make some new friends, and enjoy the conference. Next, I would like to introduce and bring to the stage Mr. Dave Barnes, who is the ACE Legislative Advocate and Consultant.
Good morning. I need you to help me with something so I don't have to listen to it the rest of the week. Julie has the next piece of the agenda on a Hall of Fame presentation, so we're going to give her some exit music, and we're going to make sure everybody hears it. Just so, and somebody asked, where was my music? Well, I wanted Nobody Does It Better, but they wouldn't let me do that. I'm not up here long, but it's wonderful to see you. You are literally the best looking group that we have seen in 2 years. I'll be here all week. No, I won't. In fact, my tenure with ACE is about over. Now, doing these things from the second floor of the ACE office with a green screen behind us staring at the computer gets really old really fast. So thank you all for braving whatever it is you braved to get here. Honestly, this is a thrill for us as much as it is for you. You heard the Chancellor reference Get There Florida and the adult ed piece that they're going to launch as a complement to the career technical piece that's been going on for about a year now. ACE of Florida, as one of Jeff's major initiatives, is also going to launch an advocacy piece this year focused on who we are and what we do. In your local community, to our state legislators all across the state, and we're going to use social media to do it, and we're going to need your help to do that. So be looking for, in the coming months, some activities that we're going to have planned. If you have an opening tomorrow at 11 o'clock, come and join us in the Twitter session. We're going to have a little fun with that. And if you have time on your calendars, in February 2nd through the 4th, we will be in Tallahassee, much as we were 2 years ago. Julie has reserved that facility right across the street from the Capitol. It's a great facility. We had a good time there, and we did a lot of good 2 years ago. We're going to have another legislative institute where we will incorporate what we're doing over the next 6 or 8 months. So again, welcome, we're happy to have you, and we look forward to working with you going forward.
I now have a very big honor for this next part of the agenda. It is to honor our Hall of Fame inductee, and so I'm going to start. For nearly 4 decades, ACE of Florida has honored the state's most outstanding educators who have dedicated their lives in service to adult education with their induction into the ACE of Florida Hall of Fame. It is the highest honor that ACE of Florida bestows upon our colleagues. Over the years, we have honored individual chancellors, superintendents, teachers, administrators, and others who have dedicated their lives and careers to adult education, many of whom have served on the ACE Board of Directors. There's a plaque that's not to my right, but there is a plaque that signifies their names, and they have become a permanent part of the history of ACE of Florida. These past 18 months have been, for most of us, the most challenging personal and professional times of our lives. This is especially true for healthcare professionals, first responders, and yes, teachers. Across our state, teachers have performed under conditions no one could have ever imagined. Teaching virtually and in person, teaching behind plexiglass, and teaching behind a mask became commonplace all across our state. While we have all faced seemingly unsurmountable challenges to these past months, our adult education teachers have risen to overcome these challenges to continue to do what they do best, enable our students to realize their dreams of a better life for themselves and their families. Teaching under these conditions has been nothing less than heroic. As we watch a brief video, I would like to ask the ACE Board of Directors to join me on stage.
Now please welcome the Managing Officer for Adult Education for Pinellas County Schools, Margaret Painter.
Oh, excuse me, I'm still composing myself here. Oh. Good morning, and welcome again to Pinellas County. This is the first time in 22 years that Pinellas has had the privilege and the honor of hosting all of you. And so, again, welcome to Pinellas County. I hope you get a glimpse of our beautiful location in the next couple of days. I'm honored beyond belief that I get to share two stories that showcase why we do what we do. Sunshine success stories identify adult learners who have reached life goals with the support of our adult education programs. Each year, nominations from across the state are submitted to the ACE Awards Committee, and 2 students are selected to represent all of those who've conquered extraordinary hurdles or barriers to get where they are today. This morning, you get the privilege of learning about these 2 students. Krishna Joseph arrived in the U.S. in 2017 as a Haitian refugee. Though she had to leave her husband and family behind in Haiti, she knew she could not squander the opportunity to make a better life for herself and find ways to support those she left in Haiti. She enrolled in ESOL classes in Broward County and through effort and determination flew through her beginner classes. By 2019, she was finding success in the ESOL College and Career Readiness Program and developing a thirst for education technology. While exploring this career pathway, Krishna continued to attend ESOL CCR and made a living by selling Haitian beverages. She supported herself through this as well as sending money back to family. Sadly, in 2020, her mother died in Haiti. This blow did not stop Krishna. By this time, her interest in talents and technology had advanced to the point that she created her own YouTube channel with her husband in Haiti. The content of this channel? Teaching English to Haitians back home, of course. Once that channel proved to be a success, she didn't stop there and has since created Pro Diversity, a YouTube channel which further showcases her talents and mission to empower others. Krishna's ambition and drive has also taken to her exploring entrepreneurship in a myriad of directions. It appears that only the sky's the limit for her. Thank you to Ms. Tracy Dean of Broward County Schools for your nomination of this deserving adult education student, Ms. Krishna Joseph. John Hare has conquered a challenge for most of his life that the rest of us can only imagine. Though born with sight, it was lost in early childhood, and John has spent most of his life blind. Having spent years in the foster care system and moving from state to state further complicated his opportunity for success. These obstacles would have perhaps caused most others to simply give up, not John. Not only has he never given up, he has forged ahead in such a way that he positively impacts all those around him. This includes the faculty and students in the adult education program at Lake Technical College. After passing all other sections of the GED test, math was the last hill to climb. Part of the process entailed John having manipulatives set in front of him to see the math concepts through his heightened sense of touch. His acute sensory adeptness helps to create a concrete understanding of the skill, and his classmates are astounded at his ability to do all the math in his head. While all of this occurred in 2019, COVID, of course, put a damper on John's ability to celebrate a formal face-to-face graduation until this past summer. However, John has wasted no time. Since then, he has been accepted to their local state college and is working toward his seminary degree, which is his true lifelong dream. Not one to rest on his laurels, while studying for his degree, John also consults for the Division of Blind Services to evaluate websites, processes, and other resources for the blind community. His wife Claire and his seeing eye dog Octavia have much to be proud of. John is well on his way to achieving his dreams and providing for his family. Thank you to Art Seidner of Lake County for your nomination of this deserving adult education student, Mr. John Hare. This morning, I also get the privilege of sharing with you a little bit about the charity that we're sponsoring for the 31st ACE conference. A couple of years ago, we decided that it would be a good opportunity to showcase some of our partnerships in the community and some of the wraparound services that we're involved in with our adult education programs and our partners. In Pinellas County, just this past summer, we partnered with Feeding Tampa Bay, and they have just recently opened their newest outpost in Pinellas County. We began teaching ESOL classes there in August, and their empowerment center will open full-fledged November 1st, which includes the Trinity Cafe, which is a dining with dignity model, where we actually serve a 3-course meal to the folks in our community, and they attend ESOL classes before and after their dining experience with us. We do have Feeding Tampa Bay here this week. The information, it was also in your registration packets. There's a QR code if you wish to donate that way. They are also have a table set up directly across the registration table where you came in and got your name badges. I want to emphasize that 98% of their donations go back into the community, and believe it or not, $1 equals 10 meals. So it's a very, very powerful opportunity for you to give back, considering how COVID has drastically impacted those who have food insecurity. Right now, 1 in 6 adults is experiencing food insecurity, and 1 in 4 children. Last year alone in Pinellas County, Feeding Tampa Bay provided over 14 million meals. For those folks in our surrounding counties, Feeding Pinellas just opened, but Feeding Tampa Bay covers 10 counties in the Tampa Bay area. So it directly impacts many, many of you in this room. I encourage you to stop by the table, share anything that you can as a donation, bring the QR codes back to your schools. Anything helps. Thank you so much.